SCP-1981 is a standard Betamax tape, with the words Ronald Raegan cut up while talking, handwritten on the adhesive sticker in felt-tip pen. Laboratory analysis indicates that SCP-1981 is made of ordinary material, and serial number corresponds with home cassette tapes produced in September of 1980. SCP-1981 was initially encountered by a filing clerk in the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library in 1991, who, upon watching it, alerted the police. With the intent to find the tape's creator to press obscenity charges, a low-level police investigation was conducted, at which point the Foundation was alerted and secured 1981. Class A amnestics were administered before could be notified. Further investigation of the library's records by Foundation personnel failed to yield any leads on SCP-81's origin. SCP-1981 appears to be a home video recording of former United States President Ronald Reagan delivering his Evil Empire speech to the National Association of Evangelicals in the Sheraton Twins Hotel, Orlando, Florida, on March 8, 1983. However, at 1 minute and 10 seconds, the speech begins to deviate heavily, eventually resembling no known speech ever made by Raegan. Beginning at approximately 5 minutes, multiple incisions, lacerations, and penetration wounds can be seen slowly inflicted, though no corresponding source of these wounds is visible. Despite suffering bodily harm that will likely incapacitate an ordinary person, Raegan will continue to deliver his speech until either his vocal cords are severed or the tape reads into static at 22 minutes and 34 seconds. Upon rewinding SCP-1981 and initiating playback, Raegan will deliver an entirely new speech, often radically different from the ones previously observed. Topics have included torture, child molestation, and ritual sacrifice. Trauma inflicted upon Raegan also appears to be divergent, with impalement, genital mutilation, and all having been observed. In roughly 1 in 7 viewings of SCP-1981, a figure clothed in black robes and conical blood will have replaced a random member of Raegan's press detail, henceforth referred to as SCP-1981-1. The significance of the appearance of SCP-1981-1 is currently unknown. Speeches delivered by Raegan are mostly incoherent, lacking any sort of underlying thematic structure and largely being composed of nonsensical anecdotes and parables. However, occasionally, references have been made to future events that Raegan could not have possibly known about or predicted, such as the September 11 terrorist attacks, the result of the 2008 Russian elections, and for this reading, rigorous time and effort has been devoted to recording the speech delivered on each playback. Attempts to replicate SCP-1981 onto a similar Betamax tape have met with failure. However, cameras used to record the television SCP-1981 is broadcasted on have succeeded in capturing individual playbacks. Any observations performed on SCP-1981 must be recorded on the camcorder provided and delivered for subsequent review to Dr. Project Supervisor. Years of natural magnetic interface have severely downgraded SCP-1981's signal quality, making it even more difficult to sift meaningful information out from playbacks. Additionally, the gruesome nature of the mutilations performed on Raegan has been described as extremely disturbing, and it is for this reason that it is recommended that any personnel feeling squeamish or ill after playback visit the on-site psychiatric facility for a Level 3 evaluation. As Ronald Reagan was alive at the time of SCP-1981's containment, a surveillance net was deployed to establish any relation between him and 1981. No known connection was developed, though Raegan would frequently complain about nightmares before his mental state degenerated due to Alzheimer's. The following is an excerpt from a video transcript of a recording made on 1993. At 17 minutes and 24 seconds, Raegan, a renewal of the traditional values that have been the tenets of this country's strength. One recent survey by a Washington-based researcher concluded that Americans were far more willing to participate in cannibalism than they had been in the past 100 years. America is a nation that will not suffer the abominations lightly. 7. And that is a tour of the awakening. 12, 18. We will stop Al-Qaeda. Now there you go again. At 17 minutes 53 seconds, applause. 18 minutes and 2 seconds. For the first time, we have risen, and I see we are being consumed. I see circles that are not circles, billions of dead souls inside containment. Unravelers have eaten country's moral fabric, art's turning into filth. I'm from a kingdom level above human. What does that yield? A hokey smile that damns an entire nation. At 18 minutes 43 seconds, there is no hope. 18 minutes 59 seconds. Pause. At 19 minutes and 15 seconds, Raegan winces back as if experiencing severe pain. Several new lacerations begin to manifest across bare eye socket, as well as punctures appearing to penetrate forehead and temples. Remainder of left arm has now been completely bisected. At 19 minutes 59 seconds, Raegan. Further consensus have proved that over half of all Americans still hate, eaten whole by void, the emptiness, the sadness, the gladness, the darkness. Soon after, laughter begins to ensue. At 20 minutes and 30 seconds, the laughter continues until tape degrades into complete static. End of transcript. Excerpt from a video transcript. Raegan. At 12 minutes and 32 seconds. I've been to the steel mills of Alaska and cornfields in Nebraska. I've seen the derelict offices of Doodle burn with the window boarded up and the slaughters inside them. I've seen the houses where they cut up the little babies. From coast to shining coast, I have walked empty down drooling path, following indecipherable. The decaying flesh of false morality poisoning our children. I stood atop the mountain of this greedy earth, looking down on our beautiful pious pit, filled to bursting with the vast sands of helplessness. And did you know what I saw? Hell. At 4 minutes and 20 seconds, the audience begins to erupt into laughter. 14 minutes 32 seconds, a muffled voice can be heard behind the camera. Raegan. Now there you go again. 14 minutes 52 seconds, the laughter begins to die down. At 15 minutes, Raegan. But truly now, we live in a fortunate time. This is a fortunate time. This time is on our side. After a stitch in 9 saves time. At 15 minutes 40 seconds, there are your truths, and there are your truths, and there are my truths. There are known truths, knowns, unknowns, and unknown. This is pretty much indecipherable. Some of them are in the audience right now. At 16 minutes and 2 seconds, however, at this stage, wounds inflicted upon Raegan's neck appear to have been so severe that it can no longer support his head. Speech degenerates into gurgles as Raegan violently jerks forward, his spine being severed cleanly and the head being only loosely connected to the body by strands of muscle tissue. Body remains animate for the next 3 minutes. It continues to gesture as spinal column appears to be withdrawn from neck cavity before finally collapsing. Tape degrades into static at 22 minutes and 34 seconds. End of transcript. The following is a video transcript of recording made on 2002. Beginning of tape, a long shot of the podium as well as empty chairs normally occupied by Raegan and an entourage. Curiously, this is the only recording that lacks both the intertiles and the presence of Ronald Raegan himself. At 30 seconds, the camera zooms in on the podium. At 2 minutes and 55 seconds, the entity known as SCP-1981-1 enters shot from the left and stands at podium, remains motionless for the remainder of the film. At 22 minutes and 34 seconds, the tape flashes to a single frame intertitle with words, I see you, colored in red. Holds for 7 seconds and immediately cuts to static. No further signal for remainder of tape. End of transcript. Note that this is the last known sighting of SCP-1981-1. SCP-1981-1 has been absent in all subsequent playbacks. If observed, staff are advised to not attempt to communicate with SCP-1981-1 and to alert any Level 4 supervisors on duty.
Renewal of the traditional values that have been the tendons of this country's strength. One recent survey by a researcher concluded that Americans were far more willing to participate in cannibalism than they have in the past 100 years. America is a nation that will not suffer abominations lightly. 7. And that is the core of the awakening. 12. 18. We will stop Arcana. Now there you go again. For the first time we have risen, and I see we are being consumed. I see circles that are not circles. Billions of dead souls inside containment have eaten concrete's moral fabric, turning hearts into filth. From the kingdom of what does the gate of hokey smile that hands an entire nation? There is no hope. Further consensus has proven that over half of all Americans still hate, eaten whole by food. The emptiness, the sadness, the blackness, the darkness.
SCP-1981 is a standard Betamax tape. Ronald Raegan cut up while talking has been handwritten on the adhesive sticker. God damn it, my fucking alarm! Following the video transcript of a recording made on January 29, 2002. It's redacted, never mind. Okay, fucking hell. I'm gonna have to go back and re-record this section. This is not good.